boxing philosophy is about understanding. How does Holyfield land his left hook? How does Canelo land his left hook to the body? Who owns the best jab in boxing, and why? These questions open doors. They push us to explore the different elements of the sport, the punches, the timing, the rhythm. But also there are less visible layers: glove size, contracts, psychology, and the unique environment each trainer builds. What truly makes a great trainer? Is it the strategy they design or the culture they create in the gym? Boxing philosophy is about asking sharp questions, even when there are no clear answers. Because in the search for answers, understanding grows. I just watched Dave Allen's preparation, and he looks ready for war with a beard and a noticeably slimmer frame. There was a conversation between Dave Allen and Jamie Moore about nutrition, and the focus was on Allen eating healthier foods. In camp, we got a glimpse into their training philosophy, which included technical work tailored to this specific fight. In boxing, there are many types of training: cardio drills to bring the weight down, resistance training to build strength, mitt work for timing and combinations, and technical sessions designed for certain opponents. On the mitts, his 1-2 looked powerful, punching cleanly through the target. The triple left hook on the bag looks sharp and disciplined. Dave Allen claims he's in the best shape of his career, and that combination of conditioning and strategy could give him a real chance at victory. The reform of the Ali Act is gaining momentum in the United States. The changes aim to reduce promoter control and create more transparency for fighters. At the same time, Saudi Arabia's growing influence in global boxing could reshape how events are funded and organized, creating a new era of competition and opportunity. Exhibition and crossover fights continue to dominate headlines in boxing. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis has sparked huge debate online, with fans divided over whether it helps or hurts the sport. These events mix entertainment and competition, drawing in audiences beyond traditional boxing fans. Legends like Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather are also returning for special exhibitions that attract global attention. While purists question the value, these matchups generate major revenue and keep boxing in the mainstream conversation, blending celebrity culture with real ring drama. The WBC Grand Prix is a worldwide boxing tournament designed to find the best through competition, not politics. Fighters from every continent battle in elimination-style bouts across multiple weight divisions. Each phase tests the skill, determination, and consistency. Winners advance through stages leading to the grand finals in Las Vegas next summer. The event aims to restore boxing's credibility by ensuring champions earn their status in the ring. The best fight, the best for pride, legacy, and undisputed glory. Dave Allen returns to the ring on the 11th of October 2025 against the dangerous Russian heavyweight Arslanbek Makhmudov in Sheffield. It's a true 50-50 clash, a battle of power versus intelligence. Allen, fresh off a creative and disciplined win over Johnny Fisher, looks revitalized under Jamie Moore's guidance. Makhmudov brings fearsome aggression and knockout power, but Allen's toughness and ring IQ could turn this into one of the year's most intriguing heavyweight tests. So Dave Allen is scheduled to fight Makhmudov on the 11th of October in Sheffield. Now, how would we describe Makhmudov? He's a powerful Russian heavyweight,
and he's viewed as a dangerous opponent, and he's very dangerous early on. Some observers regard this matchup as what you call a 50-50 fight. Some think that whoever lands first or with more precision will become the victor, but it might be a little bit more complicated than that. So let's first look at Dave Allen's recent fight activity to gain some perspective. Dave Allen is coming off an absolutely sensational victory over Johnny Fisher. Johnny was being marketed. He was being marketed as the next best thing, but a controversial draw meant a rematch was scheduled. In the rematch, Johnny, was forced to fight Dave Allen's fight. Dave put on weight to absorb the punches, and he put on slow but consistent pressure. It was an educated performance by an educated fighter, an educated performance by an educated fighter. And the main point here is that I was really impressed with Dave Allen's punch selection. A 1-2 through the target started the proceedings. I believe it was round 5. But the left hook to the body and the right uppercut to the head, that showed punch creativity. And the finish was the following. So a double left hook to the head, a right hook, left hook to the body, and then a left hook to the head. It was fantastic punch creativity. And there's a few things to say here. The first thing is that body composition does not always determine if you're ultimately in good shape. Dave Allen didn't visually look in good shape, but he was in boxing shape. And apparently you can teach an old dog new tricks. Dave is not an old dog, but he was written off, not just by the boxing media, but at some points I think he was written off by himself. I have not seen Dave Allen perform like this. How is Dave Allen able to do this all of a sudden? How is he able to have this type of performance? I suspect the following: that he has a different level of motivation. I suspect he's in a great boxing environment or a better boxing environment. And I suspect that he is listening to his trainer. And let's give Jamie Moore some credit, not only for the tactics, but for creating the boxing environment for Dave Allen that was absolutely optimal. So let's give some credit where credit's due. So now let's talk about Makhmudov's recent fight activity, and apologies if my pronunciation isn't good. Now, when we talk about Makhmudov, he looks very scary. He is a very intimidating individual, visually anyway. And I just came off watching his last fight against Ricardo Brown. In that fight, Makhmudov was very aggressive, moving forward with a double jab. Ricardo was trying to counter Makhmudov, but his timing was just a little bit off. He was trying the right-hand counter. There was one point where Makhmudov shot the jab to the body, threw the right hand to the head. No, he shot the jab to the body, right hook to the head, left hook to the head, and then come back with a right hook to the head. And I was quite impressed by that, because heavyweights attempting 4-punch combinations, that's ambitious. And also the trajectory of starting to the body and then going up to the head. What does this do? This increases the opportunity of finding the target successfully. And a right hand from like a push jab really started the issues for his opponent. From here, Makhmudov is punching through the target, which is the right thing to do. A huge right hand put Ricardo Brown on the floor, and that was it. This to me seemed to be like a confidence fight, or it showed that Makhmudov had confidence. It also showed that he had some punch creativity and character to punch through the target as opposed to punch at the target. He didn't seem to be psychologically scarred by his previous 2 losses, which I believe both were stoppages. But here's the problem. He's now going to face the Dave Allen puzzle. And the puzzle of Dave Allen, I sense, will be a harder puzzle to solve. First of all, Dave Allen is a small target. He gets down. He's not a tall target like his previous opponent. Therefore, to hit him, you have to punch down at the target. What does that mean? It's harder to generate enough power. Secondly, Dave Allen, I suspect, will challenge for the center of the ring. And also, and this might be key, Dave Allen has a great left hook to the body. Kabayel had some great success with that punch when he fought Makhmudov. He would set it up with an uppercut to the head, but he had some great success with the left hook to the body. Makhmudov has also lost to fast fighters, but Dave Allen is not a fast fighter with regards to his punches, but Dave Allen is an intelligent fighter. What does this mean? It means if Makhmudov does not get an early knockout, I don't think he has the boxing IQ to compete with Dave Allen. I could be wrong, but I don't think he does. And if Dave Allen forces Makhmudov to fight at a high tempo or a higher tempo and is able to get in the pocket, then that's really bad news for Makhmudov. However, if Makhmudov can keep the fight at distance, then he has a significant advantage. So where the fight takes place is probably going to determine the outcome. If it's in the pocket, that favors Dave Allen. If it's at distance, that favors Makhmudov. And Makhmudov does have a decent left hook counter, and he has a decent jab, but he's going to have to develop these tools to be able to win this convincingly. And in the losses of Makhmudov, it revealed a few things. It really did reveal a few things. Against Kabayel, and I really rate Kabayel, he could not deal with his adjustments in the ring, his punch creativity, and his intelligent, I repeat, his intelligent body work. Against Vianello, he struggled with the speed of foot and the speed of the punches, which resulted into a closed eye. This is such a winnable fight for Dave Allen. And let's get it right. A victory sets up another good payday and puts him into the mix. And I think a lot of people, myself included, we want to see Dave Allen do well. We want to see him succeed. And I think he has a great opportunity to succeed in this fight.
Moses Itauma turning down Frank Sanchez isn't about fear, it's smart matchmaking. Remember, Itauma beat Dillian Whyte in 119 seconds, showcasing his speed, power, and composure. Sanchez has skill and danger in his arsenal, but right now he lacks the star pool or financial leverage to justify the matchup.
So Moses Itauma allegedly turns down Frank Sanchez. Now, if you watch Frank Sanchez, if you watch his fight against Kabayel, you might think he's an easy opponent. But you may be wrong, because you may be missing some important context. Number one, I think Kabayel is a world-class heavyweight boxer. I mean, he made Zhilei Zhang look average, and Zhang is not an average fighter. Kabayel is developing a world-class reputation. For example, he is technical and has a high boxing intelligence. He's able to adapt to the situation. Also, I noticed that Sanchez had knee support in that fight, if I remember correctly. This means he may have either come into the fight with an injury or he may not have been 100%. This is not an excuse. I repeat, this is not an excuse, but simply an explanation. But Kabayel was really good that night, and he's a really good fighter. But let's not forget, Sanchez, he can punch. He can really punch, I believe. And he's actually really fast. The point is, he can represent a big risk for little reward. A big risk for a little reward. Sanchez has everything to gain and nothing to lose, while Moses has everything to lose and very little to gain. Also, his performance, Sanchez's performance against Ajagba, I thought was impressive. You know, the Ajagba that drew with Martin Bakole. Sanchez showed distance control, speed, and power. He walked Ajagba into punches. He set effective and intelligent traps. I liked his left hook off the back foot, and I also appreciated his patience, his composure. So let me ask you a question. If you were managing Moses Itauma, would you put him in against Sanchez? Big risk, very little reward? In essence, it would be very poor matchmaking. A fight against Sanchez makes sense if there is money, interests, and titles on the table. But there's not much on the table other than potentially a very difficult fight. At the moment, the timing simply isn't right for Moses, and clearly the smarter move is to build his name against opponents who bring exposure and momentum. Then, when the stakes are higher, much, much higher, Sanchez becomes a fight worth taking. Because let's face it, and this is an honest question, I like Sanchez, I think he's a good fighter, but does he have the buzz to fight Moses Atama? And the harsh reality to that question is probably not. That's not to say he can't develop that buzz. It's just to say that at this current time, he doesn't have that buzz. But one big win, and this can become a very appetizing matchup. But boxing is about fighting in the ring and developing a reputation to the boxing public. This, at this current state, would not be a money fight for Sanchez because Moses would have to take the biggest split because of the much bigger risk. And the risk at this stage is simply not worth it. Sanchez is known to the boxing purists, but he's not known to the casual fan. He's just not. And that makes this fight not make much sense to make, even though I believe it would be a very good and interesting fight. Because in truth, Moses turning down Sanchez is not about fear. I don't think it's about fear. It's about smart business. And smart boxing is also about smart business. Sanchez is dangerous, but he doesn't bring enough financial reward or mainstream recognition yet. He doesn't bring enough financial reward or mainstream recognition yet. So the buzz isn't there for a high-risk fight. But this changes if Sanchez can build more momentum, because if he can build momentum, if he can score a knockout against a boxer that's popular, this matchup could become both logical and it could become very lucrative. And like I said, I think this would be a very good fight.
Michael Hunter's career is a lesson in talent stalled by circumstance. Once a rising force after wins over Bakoli and Povetkin, bad promotional luck and risky matchmaking froze his momentum. Now the question remains, can Hunter reignite his career before boxing forgets one of its most skilled heavyweights?
You know what? There was a time when I was excited about Michael Hunter. When he beat Martin Bakoli, it really did pique my interest. And the draw with Povetkin was actually a competitive fight that showed to me that he was a good fighter. He belonged at that level. Let's remember that Povetkin at the time was still operating at a high level, and he was a former world champion. He had a fantastic left hook. He would double it, triple it, etc. For reference, check the David Price knockout. That was a chilling left hook. But let's get back to Michael Hunter. Something appeared to happen to Michael Hunter. Actually, nothing happened to Michael Hunter because there was inactivity, a lack of media exposure, and as a byproduct, he was lacking boxing activity. The car of Michael Hunter, if you could describe Michael Hunter as a car, figuratively speaking, it just stopped moving. And it was a little bit weird. Was this a case of bad management? Was this a promotional issue? Or did Michael Hunter simply lose the passion for boxing? Did he lose the dedication? Now, what many may not know is that Hunter made a bold move in his career. In one sense, you could say he rolled the dice outside of the ring as he decided to go with the promotional company called Triller. This was, again, a roll of the dice, and it did not work. Triller, unfortunately, to my knowledge, I believe it collapsed as a company. It collapsed as a business. Businesses collapse all the time. And when the Triller ship sank, it deeply affected Michael Hunter's development. Now, in hindsight, we're all geniuses, aren't we? And in hindsight, it would appear that signing to Triller was a bad move. But companies, they fold every day. So this is just the harsh reality of business. This is something that happens in the world of business. Some products thrive and others simply do not desire. Some businesses thrive and others simply do not survive. But one should not assume that Michael Hunter did bad business because his business was jeopardized by the collapse of a company as opposed to the business of the company. He may have had a very profitable deal. He may have negotiated a good deal. But there is another problem. And here is the other problem. Why, as a boxer, would you fight Michael Hunter? Why would you fight Michael Hunter? Because it's a big risk for a small reward. Think of it like this. If you fight Michael Hunter, you might actually lose because Michael Hunter's good. But if you beat Michael Hunter, you probably will not receive the respect that you deserve. So it's like, why would you take that risk? Because the challenge of Michael Hunter presents fighters with the certain scenario that you would need a big financial compensation. And this makes negotiation extremely challenging. So if you're a fighter on the rise and you got a good media profile, fighting Michael Hunter is a risk, and you would need to be financially compensated for that risk. And even if you are financially compensated, you still might not want to do it, or maybe your team wouldn't want you to do it. And it's unfortunate because Michael Hunter had some things going for him. Against Bacoli, he had a good jab, a nice right hand to the body, a nice jab to the body as well, and some nice head movement and the ability to punch in bunches, which is rare at the heavyweight division. On the inside, Michael Hunter would put his head on Bacoli's chest and provide a smaller target. He also committed to the right hand, punching through the target. That shows character. He also had good instinctive right hand counters, particularly in that fight. So when Martin Bacoli beat Hunter, when Michael Hunter beat Martin Bacoli, he had a lot going for him. But the promotional issues, being a difficult opponent, it's definitely provided some barriers. And allegedly, he turned down a fight against Filip Hrgović, which is a peculiar decision. It has also been alleged that Hunter is having issues with his other promoter. And when you put all these things together, the byproduct of all these problems is that it halts your career. I think this is sad. And I think to myself, what can we learn from the Michael Hunter situation? Is it simply that Michael Hunter is unlucky? Or is it a combination of bad luck with some bad decision making? And it's really hard to put your finger on it. But hopefully, Michael Hunter will get an opportunity sooner rather than later. Because time is ticking and the windows of opportunity to make the most money in boxing, they are limited. Hopefully, in the book of Michael Hunter, there is a new chapter. Hopefully there is a new chapter that involves fights in the ring as opposed to taking punches outside of the ring.
Frank Sanchez remains one of boxing's great mysteries. Against Caballel, he looked hesitant, but versus Efer Jagba, he showed elite counterpunching and control. Now, facing the dangerous Richard Torres, we'll finally learn the truth. Is Sanchez a hidden heavyweight threat, or just another contender exposed by pressure?
So how good is Frank Sanchez? How good is he? You know what? From my perspective, I'm still trying to figure it out because the first time I saw Sanchez was against Caballel. And when you look at that performance, it was hard to view Sanchez as being like some type of legitimate title contender. However, there was context. He was fighting Caballero, a master of boxing adaptation and master of adapting in the ring. And judging by the brace on Sanchez's knees, maybe he was fighting other things. No excuses, just trying to analyze the situation. But even in that fight, you could see that Sanchez had some nice punch selection. But the problem in that fight, and it is a problem, was that Sanchez could not solve the puzzle. He could not make it make sense. He could not counter the body shots or punch with enough authority to stop Caballero from coming forward. And that made me question the level of his boxing intelligence, the level of his boxing IQ. But then I saw the Ajagba fight, and I saw that a fight after the Caballero fight. And after the allegations that Moses Atama avoided Sanchez, I wanted to have a closer look. And to be honest, I liked what I saw. What I saw was a good technical counterpuncher. That Ajagba performance looks even better now. Remember, Ajagba had a disputed draw with Martin Bakoli. In that fight, Sanchez controlled the tempo and controlled the narrative against Ajagba. And he had some really good right-hand counters that seemed to be missing in the Caballero fight. So this made me think of some questions. Can a boxer have a bad night? And should we define a boxer by one bad night? David Haye had a bad night. I believe it was against Carl Thompson. He had a very bad night. I think it was a 5th round stoppage. But what happened? Did that destroy his career? No, he went on to become cruiserweight and heavyweight champion of the world. So that bad night didn't jeopardize his career. Maybe it made his career in the sense of he was able to come back even stronger. And then we have Bernard Hopkins, and he had some bad nights early in his career, if my memory serves me correctly. But then he went on to be a very special fighter. Which leads to the question, is Sanchez good or is he special? To formulate an educated opinion, we need to see a special performance. We definitely would have got some of that answer against Moses Atama. And at the time, we're trying to figure out how special he is. And the fact that the fight is not happening suggests that even in, or maybe in boxing circles, people view him as a legitimate danger, which is good. But we might get some of the answers against Torres, because Torres is his new opponent. Richard Torres, a southpaw, looks like, I've only seen a few things of him, but he looks like an aggressive puncher, an aggressive fighter that punches hard. He punches hard. Well, we know he punches hard at the C-level competition. And he is hungry. And of course, like most young, hungry fighters, he's looking for his opportunity. I believe he called out Moses Atama recently. And he presents an interesting challenge for Sanchez. So if Sanchez can win and win convincingly, this would, I think, put him in a good position. Richard Torres, from what I can see, is hungry. That means in theory, when they collide, there will be 2 hungry lions. And for that reason, I'm intrigued and interested in this one. I think we're going to get some answers with regards to Sanchez's level. Because in boxing, there are levels. And this fight may reveal what level Sanchez is on.